Well, Tiger Woods is in the hunt as we come down the stretch run. Stretch run defined broadly, meaning the Friday at least event at the PGA Championship. I spent a lot of Thursday watching, although Tiger went off so early, it wasn't possible to watch him unless you were on ESPN Plus, and I'm not really somebody who likes to sit around and stream everything. And so, as a result, I'm excited going into the weekend. Not as excited as ESPN and CBS are, but pretty excited that Tiger Woods is -2 and at least potentially in a position where he could be able to make another Masters-like run at an advanced age in the world of golf. And Tiger, to me, is fascinating because his career has gone in so many different directions. And now I feel like he's very much a beloved figure in sports because he's been on the stage with us for over a generation. Since he won at the Masters back in, 97, I think, which feels like a total different universe ago. And ever since then, he has been on the national stage in some way. Obviously, his win at the Masters was an iconic one. But for him to be able to contend like he is, at least through Thursday, there are going to be a lot of people out there who otherwise would have no interest in the PGA Championship that are going to be watching this weekend. If he could go out and shoot another -2 and go into the weekend, even if he could just go even par, if he could go into the weekend in negative territory and be poised to be relevant for the entire weekend on Saturday and Sunday in prime time, it would be monumental for the PGA Championship. Now, look, I think the PGA is going to destroy everybody else in the sports arena as we go into the weekend. I think they're going to do much better than Major League Baseball. I think they're going to do a lot better than the NBA. I think they're certainly going to do a lot better than the NHL. I believe, I asked this question earlier in the week, if you could only watch one of these, how many of you would vote in my poll? Over 55,000 of you voted in the poll is the answer. And 55% of you said you would choose the PGA. Next closest, I believe, was hockey, which got around 19% of the vote. Obviously, the hockey playoffs are underway. But this is going to be, I think, a really big weekend for Tiger Woods and for golf fans in America. And we're just also starved for a positive storyline. Plus, you've got in the NBA now all of the best teams starting to rest their players. And in the NHL, we'll see what happens in these early round playoff games. Major League Baseball continues to roll, and it's exciting in Major League Baseball because every game is so valuable, and there are relatively few of them being played. But on a night-to-night basis, you're not probably going to see something remarkable happen. And so I think what's going to end up happening as we go forward is Tiger Woods is going to completely take over everything. So this is going to be, I believe, a really exciting weekend for sports fans overall in general, just because we're in the middle of what I've been calling August Madness. And several different stories in August Madness have not panned out. And we'll talk about some of them throughout the course of the show. And let me just say this, by the way. We've got an absolutely loaded show for you. I'm going to talk with my buddy Lance Taylor, 94.5 Jocks down in Birmingham. In the next segment, then we got my buddy Chad Withrow, 104.5 The Zone, scheduled to join us. And then a guy that I think is better at covering the NFL and telling stories about the NFL than really anybody in the world of media, John McClain from the Houston Chronicle, is going to join us in the final hour of the program. All of those things headed your direction. But as we come up on one of the busiest weekends we're going to have all year long, certainly in the sports calendar, we're in the middle of August Madness. And let me just kind of run through some of the storylines that are out there and give you several different quick takes on them that we'll be talking about throughout the course of this program. Tiger Woods, already told you, is a luminescent star that is going to take over the weekend in the world of sports. But you know who's not? Zion Williamson. Zion, it seems like, and the Pelicans have basically just melded in everything. They were awful yesterday against the Sacramento Kings, gave up 140 points, effectively served notice that they are not interested at all in being in that 8-9 matchup, it would seem to me. And you know who in the NBA has been serving notice that they are very interested in being in the playoffs and may very well be able to give the Lakers a real run for things. That is the Portland Trailblazers, who are starting to play really, really well down the stretch. They took down the Nuggets. If you look at the way everything is shaking out for the Trailblazers, they look like the best team that's at least in the mix for the playoffs. The only thing that is out there that is worth fighting for now in the remaining week of the NBA bubble is what exactly is going to happen with that 8th spot in the NBA playoffs in the Western Conference. And right now, because it looks like the Memphis Grizzlies may go 0-8, the Portland Trailblazers are now a half game out of the 8th spot. Now, if you're wondering out there, what does it matter about who's 8 versus who's 9, all those different aspects? Well, the 8 seed only has to win 1 game. The 9 seed would have to win 2. And the Memphis Grizzlies came into the NBA postseason here in the bubble with a 3.5 game lead, and it didn't take very long for the Portland Trailblazers to almost catch them, even at the halfway point. We'll talk about this some more throughout. The Clippers are playing the Trailblazers next. What'll be interesting is how many of these teams are going to play at a very high level, because the Trailblazers, I would say, still have a pretty tough road ahead of them, with the Clippers, the 76ers, the Mavs, and the Nets still to be played over the next week and change, basically. And I'm curious to see how many of these teams are going to play at a high level. The Trailblazers play back-to-back. They play 3 games in 4 nights now. Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, and then they play a Thursday game to finish off the bubble. So we'll see what ends up happening there and what teams are going to be in the mix. But Dame Lillard is on fire. He had 11 threes to take the Trailblazers past the Denver Nuggets. So we'll see what ends up transpiring there. That is the best storyline in what I would say is the NBA right now. Now, Major League Baseball, I think the most interesting story, honestly, is the Miami Marlins, who were left for dead, and everybody thought, oh, they don't have anything at all to play for. Let's go ahead and suspend their season. Everybody came after them, and they just keep winning. If you look at the Major League Baseball standings, they are right now, even though they've played a lot fewer games than everybody else, they've got the best record in the NL East. The Atlanta Braves have played 14 games. The Miami Marlins have only played 7. Yet the Miami Marlins are 6-1, and they're playing with a roster that nobody knows, and somehow they are finding ways to win, and they have the best winning percentage in the entirety of the National League. Now, again, they have only played 7 games, so that's half as many games as many teams have played so far in this restarted Major League Baseball season. But the difference between the Miami Marlins at 6-1 and the Atlanta Braves at 9-5 is going to be intriguing to follow as they continue throughout the season. The Braves are almost the teams like the Braves that have already gotten to 14 games, nearly a quarter of the way through the season. And then in the NHL, there's all sorts of stuff going on. Eddie Garcia is going to give you updates on that throughout the show. He'll tell you the latest. But to me, again, just running through all those stories that I just hit, Tiger Woods, by far, is the biggest of all of those stories. Just a couple more things to mention, too, as we get rolling on the Friday edition of the program. The official opt-in or opt-out process of the NFL has happened. I'll talk about this later in the hour, what I think the significance of all of this is as it pertains to the NFL players opting in or opting out. Because when you look at the players that have decided to opt out, 66 players decided to opt out. That's roughly 2.6% of the league. Only 17 of them were starters. So the overall impact for the NFL from guys who decided to sit out may be a little bit more substantial in terms of raw numbers, but I would rather focus on the 97.4% who are choosing to play as opposed to the 2.6% who are choosing to sit out. We're going to get into all of that and more. A lot of good discussion coming your direction here as we roll through the Friday edition of Outkick the coverage, get everybody ready for the weekend.